Hello, Danny.
Danny boy.
Hello,
Right, son?
Danny, do you been lonely? What's the matter? I'm here now. I'm here now, darling. It doesn't look very comfortable, does it? It looks twisted.
The prospects for 28-year-old Danny Johnson are bleak. 5 months ago, with severe diabetes, he suffered a lack of oxygen to the brain and went into a coma.
All right, darling? How have you been, hey?
It's now December 1993, and Danny has come out of his coma. He's awake, but apparently completely unaware of his surroundings.
All right. When I go in, all right, Dan. He's always very agitated. He never looks sort of relaxed and comfortable. He always looks. And I go in, and straight away I go and kiss him, and I stroke him, and I talk. Mummy's here. Have you been okay? You know, and I do get some sort of a response from my Danny. I can see his eyes, you know.
I look into Danny's face, and I honestly believe that there's a lot there. I don't know how much. I might be totally wrong. But I look at him, I can see, I believe that he can be made better with the right treatment. How much better we don't know, but I've just got a strong, strong, strong belief.
Danny is one of around 1,000 patients in Britain who are in a persistent vegetative state, also known as a waking coma.
Hi, Dan.
Doctors here at Newham General Hospital in East London can do little for him.
Could you give me a smile? Please, Dan. Give me a smile. And then I know that, you know, I'm here with you. Huh? Hmm?
The plight of patients like Danny is hotly contested. In February 1993, in a landmark case, the courts in Britain allowed doctors to end the life of Tony Bland, a victim of the Hillsborough football disaster. He'd spent 3.5 years in a waking coma and showed no signs of recovery.
In the past, we've been rather nihilistic in saying that nobody ever comes out of this state to reach a good quality of life. Now, the more we've tried and improve people, the more surprised we've been. And we have seen people who've been in this waking coma for as long as 5 or 6 months who have progressed to the level of walking, going to college, and having a great sense of humour. So it is possible to have a very high quality of life. On the other hand, we have to recognise that there are a group who will not come out of this waking coma or remain very severely brain damaged. And then it is up to us to try and make their life as comfortable as possible.
Dr. Andrews runs Britain's only specialist unit for waking coma patients at the Royal Hospital in Putney, South London.
I know you think we're mad not to know. Go on, again. Brilliant, well done. Should we go a little bit nearer the water?
25-year-old Patrick Evans has been at Putney for just 2 months, but the change in him is striking. He's still severely disabled. Because of permanent damage to his brain, he can't walk or talk, but he can now respond to instructions.
Now, can you lie back again, Patrick? Do you remember what to do? Head back. Put your head back.
After a car crash in February 1992, Patrick spent 7 months, like Danny, in a waking coma. At first, his doctors felt he'd suffered such severe brain damage that his life would not be worth living.
Hey, Patrick, just relax. Let go. Rest your head back. That's nice.
When he arrived at Plymouth, he wasn't moving at all. And after 2 days of him not moving, they took a brain scan which showed that he'd had a massive hemorrhage. And from that moment on, they thought he wasn't going to live and told us as much and didn't give him any form of treatment at all. We sat in a room and he was not monitored to anything from 1:30 in the morning. He was given no fluids. His temperature and pulse weren't taken at all that time until 11:30 the next morning, when he was still managing to breathe on his own, when they decided that perhaps he ought to be given another chance. But even after that, when they did give him some nursing, we were told that the end was any time. It could be today, tomorrow, next week. I think that was the worst time of it all.
So what have you done today then? Please. Eh?
Where did you see? You've got another...
You can't remember what you've done today?
Have you been to physio? Grant. And what...
Can't remember. You can't remember. It's amazing. All the money's been spent on you so far. You can't remember what you've done this morning. Eh? Oh, I don't know, can't.
Occasionally, waking coma patients do make remarkable recoveries. 28-year-old Grant Pratt was in a waking coma for 5 months after a car crash 2 years ago.
Can't remember that.
Did his parents think then that he would ever recover?
Well, perhaps this Christmas we'll break the port out, shall we?
They said basically he was going to do nothing and he would most likely be hospitalised for the rest of his life. And I think they felt that basically he would be very much a vegetable. But I don't
That's
know.
an awful phrase, a vegetable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a terrible...
There ought to be some other means of expressing
Yeah.
that term without saying that.
Yeah, I mean...
I mean, it's all right
But
for
they
people who are
really-
not involved in the situation, that's better.
No, they didn't give him any hope, basically.
Didn't give us any hope, neither
no,
did they?
none whatsoever. There was no positive outlook at all. Full stop.
Would it be better if, yeah, maybe
We need to go down the stretch a little bit.
Back at Newham Hospital, good news for Danny. His health authority has agreed to pay for a place at Putney.
If you put the blue thing in, it'll give his head more support.
Dan, you're okay. Don't be frightened. I'm coming with you.
Bye-bye, Danny.
Though no one knows how extensive Danny's brain damage is, statistically, his chances of recovering are slim, and unless he begins to respond soon, there's little hope for him. Danny's health authority has agreed to pay for a 7-week assessment at Putney. The cost, £200 a day. Beyond the next 7 weeks, Danny's future remains uncertain. There are those who feel that £200 a day is too much to spend on a patient like Danny.
I think there's still a real question for our society as a whole about how to spend its money. We've got limited resources on healthcare. Do we want to spend them on this remote possibility of what is often a very small improvement in people's level of consciousness and ability to do things? Or do we want, for example, to spend it more on unavailable kidneys in order to restore somebody's real life and flourishing? And I think that in circumstances of very limited resources, I would vote for putting it into clear benefits rather than remote, small degree, low probability benefits of this sort.
Danny? Danny? Hello? Okay. How are you? Hey, that's it. Give me your hand, give me your hand. Hello. My name's Colette. You're here at Putney now? Oh, we're going to be so busy. Hey? You tired? Danny? Can you see me? It's okay. Alright? Is it that toothpaste that I've put in? Hey? Oh, that's it. You can just rest now and go sleep. Hey? Good. You don't mind that, do you? It's good. Oh. Have a shower in the morning.
Oh, he'll love that, bless him. He
Get
hasn't-
dressed. Hey? Shall I stay here all night and just do this? So, all these things going on.
What we try and do is to try and balance expectations with reality. and therefore we always explain that we are dealing with an almost impossible situation and that the chances are that no recovery will occur. What we do promise is a bit of hope that we will at least try and do something. So it's without taking away the hope, we still want to have a go and make sure that something can be done. If anything can be done to achieve success, then we will have tried it at least.
Okay, Grant. Now, have you had breakfast today? Do you want to tick this off for me then? Can you reach? Okay. And what about lunch? Have you had that? Have you had your tea yet? Okay, that's fine.
Grant's
What about
recovery
later?
has involved a lot of hard work.
And I'm the psychologist.
Part of his brain has suffered permanent damage and he can't
And
walk
you
or
went to the
talk.
loo this morning.
He has no real awareness of his predicament, and his memory is poor.
All right. Has anybody come to see you today? Anybody you know? Any visitors? Who? Brilliant, yeah. Your mum and dad are here. They're out there somewhere. Since his accident, he can't remember an awful lot of detail of day-to-day events. He can retain, if I ask him to remember 10 things, he could probably remember about 3 of them. But then after a period of about half an hour, those 3 things will have gone, unless they've been rehearsed and repeated a lot of times. What about this gentleman's name here, sitting in this chair? What's his name? You've forgotten? No idea at all? Okay, his name begins with an I. Yep, that's right. Well done. That's Ian. Well done. Let's go round here. I think he had a head injury like you did, Grant. I think he had a head injury.
You could get very, very, very depressed if you thought too deeply about the future. You basically deal with it. Well, the only way we deal with it is in short term. Short term, yeah. But I mean,
we're awfully lucky. It's Grant there, though, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Grant's sense of humour's still there.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of him retained, and we've now looked round
Cool.
at other people and what other people have got.
Yeah, we're lucky.
And we think we're very lucky. If Grant gets no further than he is now, we wouldn't have thought it was too bad a deal.
Danny, we're going to sit you up over the edge of the bed now, and there's 2 of us here, and you're perfectly safe, okay? Let's be a little bit awkward.
So you're going to put your feet over the side.
Okay? Yep. Up you come. Gently does it, Danny. Good man. Well done.
Excellent.
That was lovely. You all right?
For Danny's team of carers, the immediate priority is to get him into shape physically. This special unit at Putney is unique in the amount of time that therapists can spend with each patient.
He's actually flexing into that. He's not
very balanced at the moment.
Yeah.
The physiotherapist's aim is to get Danny seated as soon as possible in his own wheelchair. Once he's sitting up, that alone will help to stimulate his brain. Then he can be given coma arousal therapy in an attempt to find a way of communicating with him.
Danny, your bed's going to go down. You'll be all right.
You okay then?
All right, his feet. This one's taken to support the floor, but this one's pulling back a bit.
Right. Now, Danny, Jane's going to hold on to your knees. Can you keep your head up for me?
That's good. Well done.
Right. We're going to need a little third person sometimes, aren't we, Danny? Okay, you're going to sit up tall. Come with me. Good. Danny, that's lovely. There you are, look. Can you see?
Well, he's making progress. He must be, because he's put weight on. He's put I think he's put £7 on. So he must be happier in himself, you know? And also he does look more relaxed. And his face look more himself. And I've got this confidence that things are going to, you know, slowly but surely he's going to come round.
It's Christmas 1993. Grant and his family have achieved a real milestone, his first Christmas at home since his accident.
Here we go. Hey, that's a tray, babe. Do you remember going and fetching that, Grant? How come you can remember some things but not nice things?
I decorated
There we
it
go.
since you was home last.
Here you go, look.
And they're not all your prezzies. You're going to put that, right, okay? Well, that was plonked in with
Right.
ceremony, wasn't it?
Silky's there.
Now, the difficult part is you've got to sign small, Grant.
Just have to shift your light, right?
Okay? Write small.
It's very difficult for Grant to write small.
You can go crossways if it's easier. Cross it like that, okay?
Yeah.
Well, that's not very small.
We'll have to put PTO on this one to put on the other side. We can't write on the other side. Pretty good, pretty good.
Right, wonderful job there,
Yeah.
Grant. Right, you've got to
What
put
about
in...
this blob here? Does
well,
what happens to that?
Well, just leave that.
Yeah.
Right.
February 1994. Danny has been at Putney 7 weeks. The coma arousal therapy has begun. Its aim, to find some way of communicating with him. But it's not going well.
Can you open your eyes, Danny? 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 Can you open your eyes really wide? That's it, well done. Good, well done. Okay, see if you can follow the mirror.
Danny's only responses so far are reflex ones, like blinking, breathing, and coughing. These are all controlled by the brain stem. There's no sign yet that the rest of Danny's brain is active.
Shine a small light in your eye, all right, in your left eye. That's it, well done.
How long will the therapy continue if Danny carries on not responding?
Okay.
It's not a matter of time, it's a matter of degree of recovery. And we would expect to see how much recovery can occur, and once it levels out and there seems to be no further recovery for, say, a couple of months, then we begin to say this is probably the level we're going to reach. The problem with that is that a number of people level out and then they start recovering again. And I've seen this as late as 18 months, when you start again getting another burst of recovery, which is difficult to explain in scientific terms, but it does occur.
Okay, Patrick, I'm just going to remind you that we're using the buzzer. And if you press once, it means yes. And if you press twice, it means no. Okay. So, Patrick, are you in hospital? Yes or no, Patrick? Good. Okay. Are you lying in bed, Patrick?
With Patrick, the therapy is going well. After 4 months
Are you
at
lying in
Putney,
bed?
he's learned to use a buzzer fairly
all
consistently, if slowly, to answer simple questions.
Press once for yes and twice for no, Patrick. Are you lying in bed? Good, well done. Okay. Now, Patrick, is it the weekend? A bit more difficult, this one. Press once for yes or twice for no. Good, well done. He came here and people were saying, well, nobody seems to know whether he understands anything or not. And I think once we got through that barrier of how he's going to communicate his needs, it's really interesting to see how he's progressing so fast. Every day there seems to be some improvement, which is really good. And I think that's reinforced by his family. And I think he works really on reinforcement. He really enjoys the fact that you're saying you're doing really well, and I think that seems to spur him on even more.
I suppose the question we're asking is whether this marginal amount of improvement to being able to make a yes-no response, or simply to indicate by body language whether you're pleased or not pleased, whether that is in fact a degree of recovery that is in fact worthwhile. I mean, there are people who have believed that an awareness of being in that state might in fact be worse than being unaware, as we believe vegetative patients are. So I think these are very difficult questions, but I think we need to look at them critically and ask these really rather tough questions, rather than saying that any degree of recovery is obviously a benefit.
1, 2, 3. And just a little bit across and towards me backwards. 1, 2, 3.
April 1994. Danny's now been at Putney for 4 months. He receives regular physiotherapy to prevent his limbs from contracting. Physically, Danny is improving, but mentally, he's still showing no response.
I want him to talk to me. I want him to talk and tell me if he's uncomfortable, or... I think that's the main thing. I want him to talk, even if he doesn't walk. You know? I'll have to carry him around or push him, whatever. At least if he can talk to me. Well, that's all I really want. Yeah, I'm not going to ask for the moon. Anyway, I feel he's going to get all right. He's going to be okay. He's going to get better. And that's it. He's going to be all right.
How's that, Danny? You all right now?
Morning, Patrick. Hi. Your head's come out.
Yeah. Come on, let's pop that back in again. Pat, you want to take your head back?
That's better.
That's it.
How are you feeling today? Come on, you're going to do something, aren't you? That's...
You're going to leave it there? Good.
So, in fact, it is staying up by itself,
Yeah.
the head without the strap on.
Yep.
Legs are all right? You've got those nicely supported?
legs are
I think society would look at his quality of life and say, he's terribly disabled. What is the point of going on? I'm sure that's what it'll... But once you live with people who are disabled and very severely disabled, you realise that there's actually a person in there, often a person trying to get out, and a person who has needs which need to be met.
Do you not sometimes despair at the negative attitude that society has to someone like Patrick?
I'm not so sure the word is despair. I think it's one that we have to educate and demonstrate that for a lot of people there is still a quality of a life achievable in spite of very severe disabilities. And the more recovery we can get, even if you remain profoundly physically disabled, the potential of using technology to enable you to have a quality of life is enormous.
They keep telling me to
to have time off. I'll go away. Why don't you go away for the week? Why don't you go? It's easier said than done. I'd rather be here with Danny than anywhere else. And if I'm late, and then I get caught in the traffic, then I get really agitated. So it does help me to come and get here as soon as I can. You're going to sleep? Go on then. Have a nice rest. I wake up in the early hours. I think that's the worst time. You know, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, 5. And that's the worst time for me. Once I get here, I'm not so bad. And then I hate leaving him. And I won't leave him till he's asleep. I feel better when he's asleep. And then as I get home, as I'm getting closer, then I try to start cheering myself up, because when I go walk in the pub, there's always, I've got to talk to people, or, you know, sometimes there's friends waiting, well, friends, customers, you know, waiting to see me. If they haven't seen me for a few days, see how Danny is and how I am. And I try to be as cheerful as possible, you know, so you don't really want to, people come there to sort of have a drink, and so you don't want to be too. So I sort of take a deep breath and walk through the door. Hello, you know. How's Danny? Oh, he's all right. He's a bit better, or...
Is that as far as you're going? Come on. Now I can feel you pulling up. You want to go down. Let's go down. Let's go down. Come on. Keep on going. Keep on going.
Patrick's team of carers is disappointed with his progress. After 6 months at Putney, he's fed up and has become uncooperative.
Down to the bed. Can you take it away from your side? Okay. And take it down a little bit. Down. Down towards the plinth. Down towards the plinth. Good. Good. Okay. My goodness, Patrick, this is more than you've done in a week or two. Let this one come out a bit. He's lost the major portion of his ability, and he's obviously very frustrated and unhappy about that, and feels that if it can't be like it was before, well, why participate in something that's less than that? Why put a lot of effort into something that the achievement is very small?
I can still see a difference in Danny. He's more alert. He moves his head, you know, from side to side, which he never used to do when he came in. He can hold his head up, which is you know, and sometimes he really looks at me, you know. I feel that he can really see me. So he has made some progress. And I still feel, I mean, I just don't want the year to come, because I hate to say that he's been ill for a year. So I just don't want the summer I don't want July to come. All right. There. That's it. Did you like the music? Did you like it? Any good? Huh? Are you comfortable? Dan? You seem to be very sort of straight. Are you comfortable like that? Huh? Are you? Are you? Huh? Oh, I love you, Danny. Oh, darling. Hurry up and get well. Hurry up and get well. And we can go home. Huh?
Okay, buddy. Shoulders up, buddy. Look at me. That's it.
Grant is leaving Putney after a year for Banstead Place, an educational and rehabilitation centre for young men and women.
This next week will be a bit sort of unsettling for us. I don't think we'll for Grant, because I don't think he's bothered about it at all. In fact, I think he's quite looking forward to it. But we'll have several sleepless nights till we get back on Saturday, make sure he's okay.
Yeah, we should be back Saturday. Back Saturday.
Yeah.
How cool
John was actually at Putney as well. John, you'll say hello to Grant, who's the new student who's starting today. He's heard about you already. John was actually at Putney. This room is actually next door to your room, right? Don't come in here by mistake, but this is one of our independent living units. So when students come in here, we assess you and see how you get on with coping with living independently. So we actually allocate you some money, and you're supposed to do your shopping, cooking, cleaning, get yourself up in the morning, and so forth. Now, that's probably a long way ahead at the moment, but during your time at Banstead Place, I would guess that you will be in here and perhaps doing some of the things that you were doing before your accident.
Well, it won't be clearing up then, will it?
No, won't it?
No.
The most important part of this exercise, you see, is that when the time comes to leave Banstead Place, we'll have a very, very clear idea of what your needs are for the future in terms of accommodation, what support you need, what supervision you need, what age you need, and so on. So this is a very, very important part of the exercise.
Please. On. From. This.
Well, of course there is. There has to be. There's the rest of your life. Banstead Place, 18 months, 2 years to go on with your rehabilitation, but it's the next 50 years that you need to worry about, son. And there must be. There's a place for everybody.
May 1994, back at Putney, where Danny has now been for 5 months. The hospital consultant, Dr. Andrews, has just given Danny's mother, Natalie, some bad news. The Coma arousal therapy has been stopped, and Danny is to be moved onto another ward.
Everything is so final now. Like, there's no hope anymore. Like, I'm even wasting my time talking to Danny now. I feel sadder. I feel more depressed than I used to. But I still feel that he's going to get a bit better. He's going to get better. Because I just can't get it in my mind that I'm never ever going to talk to him again. I mean, that he's never ever going to smile at me or that, you know? So what's going to happen? So if I live another 30 or 40 years, I'm never going to be able to talk to Danny or anything? I don't believe that. I don't believe that's going to be like that.
Now, you remember coming home for Easter, don't you? And it was absolutely brilliant. But you weren't too brilliant when you came back, were you? You decided you didn't like it up here, and you wanted to be home, getting spoilt all day long by me, and your brother, and your grandma.
Although Patrick is still not cooperating, and his future at Putney remains uncertain, his mother keeps pushing him.
You got over being upset and lonely. Yeah, you put your thumb up if you feel a little happier. Let go of my hand. Gonna put your thumb up? You feeling happier now? Up a little bit? Well done. That's better, isn't it? I know it's a bit of a shock, isn't it, having the family all day long and then coming back and having to work and settle down to a routine again, but after all, that's what you're here for, isn't it? So you're feeling much better.
He knows
All right? That's what you're here for, you know.
that, you know, he hasn't always been as he is. And I think he finds that very depressing. I don't think he's not always like it, but at times I know that I can see it in his face. You know, when I show him photographs, that he crumples up, so to speak, and can get very miserable. So I don't like to do too much of that.
Is this man angry, Patrick? What do you think?
Patrick's psychologist wants to find out whether he has any insight into his condition. Is he unhappy? Can he tell the difference between happiness and unhappiness?
Okay, well done. Is he... Do you think he's... Hang on. Do you think he's sad? With Patrick, his concentration span is about 15 minutes-ish. So we've got that about a 15 minutes useful window of time in which to work with him, and after which he gets really tired. So it's quite a slow process to get through everything. Do you think he's happy? Have a look at his face.
I think, to be quite honest with everyone, Patrick knows a lot more than we give him credit for. And I think it's me being a coward in not wanting to stir things up, but I do ask him light-hearted questions about how he feels. And although he doesn't always respond on the buzzer by yes or no, I can tell by his face exactly how he's feeling. But I must admit that I don't want to delve too deeply. Maybe for my sake as well as his.
What are you afraid of? What are you most afraid of learning?
I suppose the fact that Patrick, if he was able to communicate in sentences by means of a computer, that he would probably say, "Oh, why didn't you let me die?" But I suppose I could overcome that by saying, "Well, you just didn't," because that was it, he didn't. He fought for life, but I suppose he wouldn't like to think that he was like he is.
Just whip your towels off.
Danny has now been in a waking coma for almost a year. He's been at Putney for 6 months. Everything has been done to give him the best possible care.
Head wet. We'll try and get rid of that 5 o'clock shadow. See if we can reduce this to a 2 o'clock shadow.
But Putney remains under fire, its philosophy bluntly rejected by some doctors. They question the quality of life that someone like Danny has. Some even argue that funding should be withdrawn once a patient has been in a persistent vegetative state for a year, and the patient should be allowed to die.
Where would you draw the line in withdrawing feeding?
I don't think there's a simple answer to that, where would I draw the line, but I would say that at one end of the spectrum are very clear cases, and I think people in persistent vegetative state are those very clear cases. So that after somebody has been in persistent vegetative state for a year or more, I would certainly draw the line. And I draw it for two reasons. One, because I think that it's not beneficial to the patient, and that's my main reason. And secondly, because in context of limited resources to spend on healthcare, I don't think it's in the interests of other patients who aren't getting those resources while we're spending them on people who've been unconscious for a year and are extremely unlikely to recover consciousness. And if they do recover consciousness, are extremely unlikely to recover a life that they themselves would consider worth living.
We don't agree with that. You know, he's got to have treatment, whatever happens, because, I mean, where there is life, there is hope, isn't there? And it's no good giving up because at the moment he's not responding, but then he's not well. He's got that problem with his chest and things like this, you know? If we get all the other bits working, then perhaps he starts responding. But we got to insist, and that he gets treatment and they don't give up. We can't give up on. You can't give up on people. It's very scary. I used to think, I was one of those people that used to think when they turn somebody's machine off, things like that, oh, they'll be better off, you know, but then I wasn't involved. I don't think that way now, I'm afraid.
Whether Danny should be allowed to die is a question for his family and doctors, and one which ultimately might involve the courts. Since he's fed by tube into his stomach, it might mean withdrawing the tube and stopping feeding him.
Head forward a little bit. Now go forward.
Well, it's tremendously painful. That's the first thing to recognise. You can't let go easily in any circumstances. But I think what I would try and concentrate on is to try and get the people in the family to distinguish their own feelings and quite understandable desire to do everything possible and also not to let go because it's so painful, on the one hand, and what, on reflection, they really think their family member would have wanted in the circumstances. Would this person really want to be kept alive in these circumstances? And if it's a question, for example, of recovery from unconsciousness after a year to an ability to do simple tasks but totally dependent on others, is that what the person would have wanted? I know from my own point of view, I would find that worse. To realise that I was totally powerless, totally dependent on others, able to do very little. Frankly, I prefer to be unconscious, and I'd prefer to be dead.
Hey, Dan, it's a bit better down here, boy, with a bit of sunshine in it. Hey?
Bit of fresh air, Danny.
It's got to be a lot better for him down here, a bit of air, Mum, and it
Hey?
coops up there all day long.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what we could do? If the weather stays, perhaps you could go and pick Nanny up.
I'll bring her over,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind. It only take half hour, won't it?
And then she can sit here with Danny for a little while on that
grass, yeah.
It'd be better than for her seeing him up there.
At the moment, we can't look down the line. We just look into tomorrow. We only take each day as it comes, and at the moment there's hope for us.
Danny, would you like that?
So, while there's hope, we could never let anything like that happen, obviously, but if the situation arose and that was the point, that Danny wasn't going to get any better, then what must be, in the way I look at it.
Are you comfortable, darling? Huh? Are you cold? Is it a bit cold for you? You all right?
What's the matter, son? You all right? Give him a wipe, Mum. Put his head back a little bit.
He's going to get cold. All right, then. All right, then. What's the matter?
Come on, Dan, get your head back. You've got to lie, dig
That's
deep,
it.
son, otherwise you're never
That's it.
coming home to a light hell with me, are you?
Come on.
Eh? You've got to try and be strong, get them neck muscles
He
going.
does
Keep
sometimes. He does sometimes.
going. Hey, Dan?
He does sometimes.
But I do. Otherwise, you're never going to seem to get better, Dan, are you? You've got to try and get your neck back, Dan. Fight it.
I will never give permission for anybody to stop feeding Danny, if that is what the question is. But having said that, you don't know how you're going to react when the time comes and someone puts it down in front of you, you know? But at the moment, like Louis said, we've got hope and we feel that.
We don't even like to
And I
think
don't
of
think,
that.
no, we don't even want to think about it. That makes me feel terrible. And I don't think I could ever allow anybody to stop feeding my Danny.
Don't you want to put some more on, or do you want to spread that first and see how it looks? Okay, put some more on. I think you'll find that's a bit much. Use your knife now. Right, same action as when you were spreading the marge. You've changed.
Grant has settled in well at Banstead Place. He's beginning to take on some of the simple tasks of daily living. Today, making toast for the first time since his accident. His parents feel they are now able to think about the future.
We've accepted the situation. We can't alter the situation, and don't matter how much moping about or crying. We've done enough of that, and you can't alter the situation. We can never go back. And I've said to Grant time and time again, forget what's gone. We look into the future.
But I think sometimes if he'd have been like some of the people we've seen, and he was going to stay like that, I think, if I'm honest, I would have.
Oh, you wished he died.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And that sounds awful, but it's a fact, I'm afraid. That's how I feel, anyway. Probably the parent of a child that's like that probably feel totally different.
But you'll never know the real answer.
No,
Never know
in
the
their
real
heart of
answer.
hearts, you don't. I mean, it's very hard to see somebody that you love in that situation, and you know they are never going to get any better. And that really does take some living with.
Patrick, have a look at the colour. Is this green? Press once for yes or twice for no. You think it's green, Patrick? Have another look.
It's a very difficult emotion, accepting. I don't think I accept Patrick as he is. I get used to it. I can never wake up one morning and say, oh, life's great, because it won't be. It'll always be hard and difficult. It's hard coming to see him, and it's also hard leaving him. I mean, I look forward to seeing him, but it's very difficult to cope with sometimes. Maybe that's just me. Other people seem to cope.
All right, Reuben. Let's cover you up again. We've got an audience. Don't want to be flashing. I'll see you in the morning. Yeah, Joe. Gee, you should have a drip stand there. See ya.
If you would like to talk to someone about the issues raised in this programme, or would like to receive a free fact sheet, please phone our free call number now on 0500 180 190. That's 0500 180 190.